I even bawl, cry, and all these things.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Stasia's Journey. Here where I talk about our my life experiences, because we're both here, I'm saying or my life experiences and how, you know, the lessons that I've learned, and I hope those can encourage, empower, and motivate you. All right, so let's get into it. So, you know, I spoke about my miscarriage experience, and while going through that, I realized very quickly that I'm clearly not the only one experiencing this. My husband was experiencing it too. So we wanted to talk about, basically from a man's perspective, what it is to go through a miscarriage. So take it away.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be a very difficult video. I was trying to avoid this video, but I guess she held me hostage. So I guess I have to talk about it. So
He's joking.
when she had the miscarriage at that time, you know.
So let me give the backstory. So
Okay.
we got married in 2017. Got pregnant right after that. Me feel like a honeymoon night, literally. Got pregnant right after that. So we got married in July. I went back to school in September. Pregnant by the time I went to school.
Right.
Right. The pregnancy went up to first trimester was fine. We went through first trimester just fine.
Not really.
No?
I remember you having a lot of pain,
Oh.
but that's even before you left.
Yeah, that was implantation pain.
Okay.
Remember? And my implantation pain is terrible. I get diarrhea and them something really bad. So
we
from
didn't know
them
what was
time,
going
we never knew what was going on. I mean, I take ibuprofen, which you're not supposed to do, right? Yeah, so it started off looking rocky from the first part, but then the first trimester was fine.
Yeah. After that, as you said, you went back to school, and then, you know, things were going well until, like, I know we had the miscarriage when you were 17 weeks.
Yes, you see, man, remember which week?
Yeah.
How much weeks?
You were 17 weeks and
Second trimester.
Second trimester of pregnancy.
Yeah.
At the time, I was in Grenada. She was, of course, back in school in Ukraine. So just the distance was very difficult, and, you know, I didn't know what was going on, and I was kind of like a third party, basically a backseat driver in your own life.
Yeah.
So I had
In
to
this very important part of your
yeah,
life.
you know. So it was definitely a scary experience for me. Stasia was pretty much going through it alone. I mean, she did have a gazelle, it was very helpful, but she didn't have her
Family
husband,
and,
no family, you know, no
those
parents.
closest to you.
So I know it was very difficult. And, you know, I feel like maybe she didn't understand that it was also very difficult for me, because I wasn't there, and I'm supposed to, you know, ideally you want to be there to be able to go through these difficult stages with your partner, to be supportive, you know, just to kind of help her feel like she's not alone. And I was trying my best from where I was, honestly, but I don't know if it was always received like that way. What do you think?
All right, so I definitely felt like I was going through this alone, and he couldn't possibly understand what was happening to me and my body. And because of that, even though he was trying to be there and trying to be there for me, it's like I was pushing him away. I remember that. It's like I was pushing you away, and you kept saying, remember, it's not you one going through this. Another thing as well, I don't know if because I was pushing him away, I couldn't fully understand what he was going through, or I didn't allow for him to express what he was going through. But in my opinion, I had the miscarriage and it was me alone. That's what I thought, right?
Yeah. And I mean, she wasn't there to see, you know, what happens to me when I come off the phone. Because when you're on the phone, you try to be strong, and, you know, you try to be supportive and everything. But people who were my colleagues at the time, people like Nicola, you know, was around, and they know that something was definitely wrong with me at that time. And, you know, I even bawl, cry, and all these things when I'm alone, of course, in the room there. So it was definitely affecting my work as well, my performance at work. I wasn't sleeping that well, and of course, as I said, it was a very emotional time for us, because it was our first pregnancy, and, you know, we were looking forward.
And newlyweds.
Newlyweds, so.
Yeah.
definitely a lot of hope behind all of that.
Right. And the thing is, how I knew it was hard for him was when I spoke to Nicola. I think I came back to Grenada. I came back to Grenada like, we had a miscarriage in November and I came to Grenada January, December.
Yeah.
December, January. And Nicola said to me, boy, you know, you never want to see how Sean was crying because she saw you crying. She said one day you came to work and you were just not looking like yourself. Then that's right when it happened. And she said she asked you what happened and tears just started to flow down your face and you told her what happened. And I think that's the only time you cried in front of somebody, but she could tell me that you had cried. Fine. So that was an eye opener for me because he wasn't expressing that to me. So my thing is, I felt like he wasn't going through anything because he wasn't expressing that to me. But I don't know if I was allowing him the space. But even if the person not allowing you the space, still tell them how you're feeling, because I feel like me wanna ball and me wanna go through this, so you couldn't necessarily understand. But I do know my husband, and I do know he is an affectionate person and he's in tune with his feelings. So that's even the reason I came to Grenada and wouldn't necessarily travel at that time, because you know the miscarriage had just happened. So you were like, you know, take a break and come, because we had like 2 weeks vacation in school. Not no long time, but I traveled and went for that time. Fine. Yeah. Any lessons from that? Any takeaways, like to couples who are males? The reason we're doing this is I don't think males really talk about their perspective of a miscarriage, that it hurts them too. They are in this too. Supportive males who want to be a part of their families and who are. Yeah?
I guess definitely if you're not there while the miscarriage is going on, it's important to let them know, your wife know how you feel. Let them know that you're also hurting, because I don't think I actually use those words, and I may not have been showing much of that emotion that I was feeling while I was talking to her. Often because I want to be supportive and strong, because she was obviously going through a lot, you know, and I didn't think at the time that it makes sense for both of us to be just like broken and crying and all these things.
Right.
Which, I mean, that could help at some point, maybe open up to your partner.
Okay.
And let them know that you are actually going through this as well. It's difficult because it may be misinterpreted. And then the thing with long distance relationship, things do not portray that well over the phone. That if you were there in person, you would obviously see it. You can't really hide it. But for the 30 minutes you're on the phone for or whatever, you can always try to put on a brave face. Or they don't see that, everything.
Right.
So you have to also just be more open about that.
Yeah.
That's just based on my experience. But if you can be there, just be there.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the best thing.
And I think for men who are there,
Physically.
still express yourself. I do believe people who go through a miscarriage, they sometimes want time for themselves too.
Yeah.
So as a couple, people deal with it differently. Because that's a life. You bond with that baby. Funny enough, you weren't there, but you were bonding with you know, your child still. Like the idea of a child, may I tell you, say, baby, a kick, you know, we share things and what's happening and ultrasound and all of that.
Right.
So you're also forming that, you know, even though it was long distance.
We had a name.
We had a name.
So that even make it even more difficult. You know?
Yeah. And the point is, allow yourselves, those who have gone through a miscarriage, or even grieving together or whatever, allow yourselves to come together and grieve, but allow yourselves to grieve apart. I think that's very important. So communication is what I'm hearing right throughout this.
Pretty much.
Like communicate. If you need to go counseling, go too.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
an option.
Yeah, that's an option. If you need to go to counseling, go too. But just another segue, what have you learned? The second time around we got pregnant, what did you learn from a miscarriage? What I learned was to not name the baby.
Yeah.
I did not name my child.
When did we name?
When we named her,
I feel like we needed. We wanted an S name.
We knew the name before I got pregnant.
First,
Yes, we knew the name before we got pregnant, but we never called her that
during the pregnancy.
during the pregnancy. Funny enough, if we were gonna have a son, we know the name from a long time too.
Right.
So it's not like names we didn't know. We don't know the names.
We know that we want to keep the S.
Yeah.
So when we have a couple options.
Right. I remember we were reading Bible, so we named our child based on a word that we found in the Bible, and we thought this was perfect. But when we called her baby Betty the whole time.
That's true.
And that is why during my photo shoot, we did the whole baby Betty thing. Called her baby Betty the whole time. which
Yeah.
Shaga named Betty. That's something we did. It was like, and then if you watch my other video about my pregnancy, how plagued my pregnancy was. I remember at 5 weeks, how was that when I was 5 weeks pregnant and in the hospital with the bleed again?
It felt like I was reliving, and this time it was worse because it's earlier and you feel
and you
like,
know things medically.
Yeah, so I was like, oh crap, and
you're not there,
and I'm not there again, of course. So that was tough, and that was even a more difficult situation at work because I was in residency at the
Yes.
time, so it's a lot more intense, demanding. So that's a whole different story again of just emotional damage.
Or an emotional roller coaster again to think is
that
a
was
miscarriage
tough.
going to happen
Because
again?
after the first experience, you know what the end result was, so you're like, man, you're staring down the same gun again.
Yeah, and then when Sky was sick in the hospital, that was a whole other thing. So our men go through it too. That's what I'm trying to say. Our men go through it too, and because it's our bodies, I know the babies breastfeed from us and stuff. Once you have a loving husband, loving partner, trust me, they are going through it too. So let us not overlook our men who want to be a part of our lives, who want to be active fathers. Let's not overlook them and push them to the side, because in our society we're taught that it's the mother on the yard. And it's the mother really do everything, so it's like the man say, and I struggle with that. Today you were talking to me about it and saying sometimes just listen, because we are so used to being strong women and doing everything by ourselves. When our men are there for us, we don't allow them to be there for us. And when they need us to be there and we need to be there together to help each other through those times, yeah. The verse that comes to mind is when it says that Jesus is touched with the feelings of our infirmities, and whatever you go through, and what got us through is praying together, praying it through. Really,
friends were supportive.
Were supportive and family. So our relationship with God and our support system. Those are the main two things that really got us through the miscarriage and the threatened miscarriage, because that's what it was, a threatened miscarriage when we were pregnant with our now 3-year-old Sky. So this is to encourage anybody who has gone through a miscarriage to hold in there, hang in there, support each other. Don't let it drive you apart.
Right.
Men go through it too. Don't just brush them off. Yeah. So be encouraged. Have a good day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below.